The music cut. The laughter froze. Her voice rang out like shattered glass against marble walls. "What are you even doing here? You were uninvited yesterday." Every head in the grand ballroom turned toward me. 200 pairs of eyes pinned me where I stood. My son's bride, Heather, stood glittering in her ivory gown, veil spilling like ocean foam over her shoulders. She wasn't a bride at that moment. She was a predator, cornering me in front of everyone. I felt the whispers crawl through the crowd like smoke. Her bridesmaids exchanged nervous glances, and Daniel, my son, stood stiff beside her, torn between his mother and the woman he had chosen to marry. I should have felt crushed, but instead, I smiled. I let the silence draw out, every tick of the crystal chandelier echoing like judgment. And then I spoke. "I'm leaving," I said, voice calm, almost kind. "But first, meet my special guest." From the back of the ballroom, a tall figure stepped forward, shoes clicking against marble. He carried an aura that pulled every eye. When Heather saw him, her face drained of color. She mouthed his name, but her throat caught the sound. Her knees buckled. She collapsed, fainting into her bouquet as gasps ripped through the air. The chaos swirled, Daniel rushing to catch her, guests erupting in confused chatter, waiters frozen with trays midair. But I simply stood there, my chin high, my heart beating steady. Because this wasn't humiliation. This was justice. If you're watching this, drop a comment, hit like and subscribe, because what I'm about to share will sound unbelievable, but it's the truth. My name is Elaine M. Carver. I am 68 years old, and at my son's wedding, his bride tried to erase me. She thought she could uninvite me from a day I had built with my own hands and paid for with my own money. She didn't know I had planned everything down to the last candle, including her downfall. Heather had always been bold, but cruel boldness is just cowardice in disguise. From the moment she latched onto Daniel, I felt the chill of distance growing between us. Daniel used to call me every night. We survived the loss of his father together, building our little world with 2 incomes, mine, stretched and tired, but steady. I thought love made us unbreakable. But Heather saw my devotion as competition. "You're too close to your mother," she told Daniel. I overheard once as I carried laundry past his room. "She pays for too much. It's unhealthy." That stung. Because she wasn't wrong. I had paid for too much. I paid for Daniel's law school, for the down payment on their first condo, for this very wedding venue with its crystal chandeliers and gold-edged cutlery. I thought I was building his happiness. But Heather twisted it into chains, convincing him my love was control. 2 nights before the wedding, my phone buzzed at midnight. Heather's voice was sticky sweet. "Elaine, we've decided you shouldn't attend the ceremony. It's better this way. You can send your blessings from home." I remember gripping the phone so hard, my nails dug into my palm. "Excuse me?" I whispered. "You always take up space. This day is about us." Daniel agrees. "Please respect that." I should have cried. Instead, I smiled into the dark. "Heather, every rose in that ballroom is there because of me. Every sequin on your dress is mine. If you think you can erase me from my son's life on the very day I paid to give him, you've underestimated me." And I hung up. The morning of the wedding was heavy with perfume and tension. The air inside the ballroom smelled of lilies and fresh polish. The carpets were thick, swallowing every step. Guests shimmered in satin and tuxedos, oblivious to the silent war playing out beneath the chandeliers. When I walked in, wearing navy silk and pearls, the whispers began immediately. Heather's eyes narrowed into daggers. Her bridesmaids fidgeted with their bouquets. The ballroom had erupted into chaos behind me, but I didn't look back. My heels clicked against the marble as I stepped out into the cool air. The scent of roses still clung to me, but now it was mixed with something sharper: resolve. My special guest was none other than Richard Collins, Heather's ex-fiancé, the man she left in the dust 2 years ago after draining his savings to support her dreams. He had called me months earlier, his voice carrying a bitterness I recognized. "Elaine," he'd said, "you need to know the woman your son S marrying isn't T who she claims to be." At first I brushed him off. Mothers don't want to hear their child's choices condemned. But then I began seeing the cracks, Heather's manipulations, her sudden silences when finances were mentioned, her sharpness toward me. I realized Richard wasn't lying, so I invited him, quietly, to attend the wedding. His presence alone was enough to expose Heather, and it had. But fainting wasn't enough. Not for me. Inside, panic rippled through the crowd. I could hear muffled shouting, the shuffle of feet. My phone buzzed, Daniel calling. I let it ring. Then it buzzed again. Texts flooded. "Mom, where are you? What did you do?" Heather fainted. "People are furious. Come back now." I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my banking app. With a steady finger, I canceled the automatic transfers. Tens of thousands I had prepaid to florists, caterers, and the luxury resort honeymoon, all clawed back with a single swipe. I called the manager of the venue. "Cancel every pending charge under my account, effective immediately." The silence on the other end was shocked. "Mrs. Carver, you're the guarantor. Without your payments, that's the point," I cut in. "Cut the lights, shut down the bar, and send every bill directly to Daniel and Heather, tonight." I hung up before he could argue. When I returned to the hall, the chaos had escalated. The chandeliers were dimming, the bar closed, and waiters were nervously whispering about canceled checks. Heather had been revived, sitting pale and trembling in a chair. Daniel hovered, furious and confused. "Mom!" he barked when he saw me. "What have you done?" I walked slowly, every step deliberate. Guests parted, whispering like a tide. "I did exactly what I warned her I would," I said calmly. My voice carried across the hall. "Every cent of this wedding was mine, and now it's gone. The champagne, the catering, the music, it all stops tonight." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone laughed nervously. Heather leapt to her feet, rage replacing her fear. "You can't do this," she shrieked, her makeup streaked, her dress trembling with her fury. "This is my wedding." "No," I said, stepping closer. "This was my gift. You uninvited me. You humiliated me. So I'm taking it back." Daniel looked at me with betrayal in his eyes. "You've ruined everything." The words cut deep, but I steadied myself. "No, Daniel, she ruined everything the moment she decided my love was competition instead of support." Vendors began packing up. The music cut completely. Guests shifted awkwardly, some already reaching for their coats. The air smelled of wilting roses and spilled champagne. Heather's perfect fantasy was unraveling seam by seam, thread by golden thread. And then Richard spoke. His voice was calm but slicing. "You never told Daniel about me, did you, Heather? About the money you borrowed? About the engagement you broke after I paid for your tuition? You're a pattern. You use, then discard. I just couldn't watch it happen to him." Daniel froze. His jaw clenched. His face crumbled as he turned toward his bride. "Is that true?" Heather stammered, hands shaking. "He's lying. He's obsessed with me. But the damage was done." Daniel stepped back, as if her touch might burn him. The wedding was effectively over. Guests trickled out in clusters, whispering like carrion birds. The priest packed his book. The flowers sagged under dying light. Heather collapsed into a chair, sobbing, mascara staining her cheeks. Daniel walked out without a word, shoulders hunched, betrayal etched into his face. And me? I stood alone, victorious but grieving, because revenge, even when deserved, tastes bitter. Later that night, I sat at home with a cup of tea. My sister Mary sat across from me, her kind eyes reflecting both pride and worry. "You really did it," she said softly. "I had to," I whispered. My hands trembled as I lifted the cup. She was erasing me from my son's life. I couldn't let her win. "But Elaine," Mary murmured, You may have lost Daniel tonight. The words pierced deeper than Heather's cruelty ever had, because Mary was right. Daniel hadn't called. He hadn't texted again. He had walked out, stunned, shattered. And though my revenge was complete, the silence from my only child was the price. Days passed. The newspapers picked up the drama. Bride exposed at luxury wedding. Headlines screamed. Vendors threatened lawsuits, but every contract was ironclad. Without my payments, the debts shifted to Heather and Daniel. Their dream honeymoon evaporated. Their reputations crumbled under whispers of scandal. Finally, after a week, Daniel came to my door. His face was pale, his eyes red. "Mom," he said quietly, "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for how you did it, but you were right. Heather, she admitted it. She used me. She used Richard. She would have kept using me until nothing was left." Tears filled my eyes. I reached for him, but he didn't step closer. "I just wish," he whispered, "that you'd protected me differently." And then he left again, leaving the door swinging on its hinges. I sat alone in my quiet house. The tick of the clock was the only sound. I looked around at the framed photos of Daniel as a child, laughing, running, dreaming. I wondered if I had saved him or broken him. Revenge had given me justice, but justice had cost me closeness. Would I do it again? Yes. Would I change how? Maybe, because betrayal eats at you, but so does silence. So if you're watching this, hear me. Have you ever faced betrayal? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because in the end, the truth is this: sometimes revenge gives you justice, but never peace.